Hi, I'm Ben Quiggle, editor of Woodall's Campground magazine, and this is another edition of WCM's Park Update. And of course, my esteemed colleague Mike Gast is here, president and CEO of the Imi Ola Group. And our guest today is somebody I'm excited about. I know we've been working for a while to have her on the show, Mychele Bisson, the CEO of Bison Peak Ventures, which does a lot of different things. And we'll let Mychele talk a little bit about that, but it's just great to have her on the show. She does so much on LinkedIn. I would encourage everyone, if you're not on LinkedIn or if you are on LinkedIn, to look her up and to see some of the stuff she does as far as investing and real estate and different things like that. But I guess, Mychele, just tell us a little bit about how you got into the outdoor hospitality industry.
Actually, I started in long-term rentals like almost 6 years ago. So I started doing single-family homes and started investing in them, renting them out to families. And then from there was like, this is cool, but I need a little bit of a challenge. And I went into short-term rentals. So I started doing that and then decided I needed to challenge myself more and actually built myself my first brick and mortar resort in Scottsdale. So kind of went into a luxury resort that I still own to this day. It's in Scottsdale on True North. And as soon as we actually opened up that, I needed to pivot into something else, but I didn't really know if I wanted to go into resorts so much. They just seemed so impersonal. And so from there kind of pivoted into finding our first RV park. Somebody sent us one and was just like, hey, have you ever considered doing one of these? And started really underwriting it, learning more about the asset class. I had never actually been to an RV park before I bought my first one. So, but I had done camping. Like my father was an infantryman in the military. And so when we were younger, would actually make us put on backpacks and we would like hike into the Rocky Mountains and go camping with tents and like catch our own fish and all that kind of stuff. And grew up on a ranch. And so I was like, yeah, let's try it out. Moved into our first campground and fell in love.
So, Mychele, you're probably a lot easier to find on LinkedIn than you are in person because we've been kind of chasing you for the last couple of months. And it seems like as far as your ventures go, geography isn't in play. You're all over the place, right?
Yeah, I kind of have a unique capability of being wherever I want to be. My kids are older. My oldest is 25. My youngest is 17, and she's going into her senior year, and she probably could run the world if I let her. But because of that, I do have the flexibility to kind of go anywhere and invest in any area. So that's kind of the nice thing about what we're able to do. Plus, we have a team, which helps out a great deal. So when we do close on a new park, we do have an operations manager now that actually will fly in immediately after we close and start implementing systems.
Yeah, and I guess how many, so I believe you mentioned that you just bought park number 6, right? It's like a fish camp in Florida, I think?
Yes, it's in St. Marks, Florida.
And so you have parks from Florida all the way to Alaska, correct?
We do. We actually own the largest park in Alaska, and it's in Valdez. We were just up there, and if you haven't visited, you really should because it's amazing up there, especially in the summer. We actually went for the first time in December, and I still loved it. So Alaska's kind of an amazing place. And then, we just closed on our first one in Florida.
So are you just buying places where you want to take vacations? Is that what you're doing at this point? Or
there are a lot of the campgrounds that we do have are places that I love visiting. Some of them we actually did not realize we would love visiting, but I love being on the actual campground. Like we have a large one in Virginia that I love to be on just because it's 94 acres. We've got just over 300 sites. We have a great community that's on it, and it's got full activities on the weekends, and it's just such a lively place to be that it's kind of the place that I like to be. So it's just a lot of fun.
So Mychele, your company's based on an investment group, bringing in investors. What's that like now? Has it slowed down quite a bit?
Bringing in investors?
Yeah.
So we actually have just ramped up. We just started a fund in October. It started off as a $5 million fund, and as we blew that first raise out of the water, we actually increased it to a $50 million fund.
Wow. So there's still a lot of people so the inflation rates and interest rates and things like that haven't really slowed people down from looking at this sector, I guess.
Actually, I think that it has helped a lot, because one of the things that we do that's unique to other investment groups is we actually go in and do a lot of seller financing on these parks, and so we do a lot of them with zero to no money down, or little money down. So we go in, we negotiate them out, and then one of the great things about campgrounds is there's so many different things that you can do to upgrade them and change them and make them unique and personal. Things that you can't necessarily do in like a multi-family asset class. And because of that, you can increase the NOI on them quite a lot by just doing simple basic things like adding things like golf cart rentals, increasing activities that are going on at the park, making them the must-go-to destination, doing boat charters, fishing charters, different things like that, which we implement in a lot of our parks.
So your properties have all been existing parks, right? You purchased an existing park to start with. Any idea or desire to do new construction?
Maybe in the future. But right now we've got this unique opportunity where there's a lot of mom and pops that are looking to retire out. And because of that, some of them have always dreamed that their families might take them over. But, like all things, our kids don't always follow the paths that we wish they would. And so now they've got this situation where their kids don't necessarily want to take them over, but they don't want to give up their park. And so we are able to kind of walk in and say, okay, well, let us take it over, keep your legacy going. And we want to make sure that we have the same feel. We want it to be the same situation. Like, we want your guests to continue coming back to the same place. We just want to upgrade things and make it a little more updated, maybe put in some new amenities, add some new activities, things that will bring in a new crowd so that your guests can continue coming to the same park, but we can start attracting new people to it too.
So what do you have when you look for a new place? Is it size of sites, or is it just locations on the map?
A lot of it actually depends on, there's lots of different factors. So one is the size. So we started off looking at 50 pads and more. Now we're more aiming towards 75 to 100 pads and more. We look for destination areas, so places that are either tourist destinations, national parks, towns, things that people want to visit, or we look for a park that actually is the destination itself. So like our St. Mark's Fish Camp Park, the entire population of the town is like 300. But the park is busy all the time because it is a must-go-to fishing destination. And so because of that, we have a great charter group of charter boats that we are increasing and expanding on. We actually are redoing a lot of the motel that's on there because it also has a 24-unit motel. And because it is such a popular place for people to go, popular as in we have families and groups that have been coming there for over 70 years to do a father-son fish adventure. And it's just kind of cool to keep that legacy going. So we're going to increase that. So we bought all of the land on that point on seller finance, and we're actually increasing the park by about 70 more pads.
So how do you get, so like when you buy something like that, are you aiming to keep a lot of the same staff in place and things like that? Is that what you do when you buy these places?
We really, really like to do what we call a soft landing, where we come in and we just want to smoothly go into this park and not change things too much too quickly. And so we do like to keep as much of the staff as we possibly can, as long as there's still a good fit for the campground. So like with Fish Camp, the previous owner's son ran a lot of the charter boats, and his wife actually run the office. And so in order to keep that consistency going, we actually kept them on board because they didn't want to go. Just because dad's retiring didn't mean that they wanted to go, but they didn't want to take it over completely themselves. So we kind of came in and started working with them, and so they still run the day-to-day operations.
One of the interesting questions I hear, as I go to conferences is, is the younger generation going to be able to have the capital to be able to buy RV parks or like do, I think that's one of the issues with families too, is that maybe the kids do want to take it over, but they just don't have the capital. Are you seeing that? Like, is that something that the industry should be a little worried about, whether the younger generation is just going to be able to afford to buy some of these places or
Well,
not?
I think that that's where the beauty of like seller financing and creative financing comes in, which is something that my
Yeah.
team has really learned how to perfect and like structure out deals. But if the park is doing well and consistently producing money, it should be able to pay for its own loan. So when you go in to work with a seller and you want to creatively finance it or seller finance it, being able to say, okay, this is what the structure is going to look like. This is how much I need to pay you, and this is how much I can take out of the park every month, so it's paying for itself. All of our parks pay for their own loan.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of interesting. I think the there's a lot of competition in the investment sector, I guess. Do you still feel that there is a lot of activity as far as new investment companies coming into the industry, or is it kind of settled out a little bit?
So I think that I'm a little different in the side that I see a lot of investors and I get a lot of investors that contact me directly. So I think I see a lot of activity when it comes to that. I have seen actually a ton of brand new investors that want to get into the space. My biggest thing for new investors is that if you haven't really done any investing at all, and this is the first thing that you're jumping into, it's going to be a little overwhelming. So I know that my team has personally purchased 2 parks in the last year that were by newbie investors that had bitten off more than they could chew. And so when it came to full on operations, they didn't understand the full operations of every part of the park. All they saw were the good numbers that were coming in and didn't realize that there was a full restaurant or full activities or like 20 businesses attached to this one RV park that they didn't totally understand. And they started to drown in the daily operations.
What's interesting, I don't know, have you seen this too, is kind of anecdotally, it kind of seems like there's been some investment groups that come in and they're full of energy. Hopefully they're still full of energy, but they expect to be able to like increase rapidly and then it just kind of slows down. Do you see that a lot too, I guess?
I do. I think like, I think when you get to a certain point, like you get to I've heard a lot of investors come in and they're like, I'm going to buy 5 parks this year. And I'm like, you really need to stop and think about, like, we did that. We bought 6 in 18 months. And when you really start to do that, one, you have to make sure that you have the team in place. So we've been building a team as we've been going because you become this bottleneck in your own business where you get your first park. And if it's like my first park was kind of a scrap heap. And I really had to go in and clean it up and like get out the drug dealer and get out all these people that had kind of taken it over from the previous owner that was just tired. And once we got that going, it's like you start realizing how much capital has to go into it. And you start realizing all the little nuances that get put into it and all the permits that you have to start pulling and all the little details that you actually have to do. And you start realizing, okay, maybe 5 is a little crazy. And then when you start getting into like the ones that have so much operations, you start realizing how much staff you need to have. So it's not so much that you can't do it. It's just that you need to know what you're walking into and you need to be prepared to start bringing people in. And with that, you're also going to have to be prepared of people leaving, people not seeing your vision, people not aligning with your vision, having the wrong fit, not having the right management in place. Like all of those things come into play and it feels like you're constantly in this revolving door of employees or teammates.
Yep. And I think we see a lot of that playing out to some degree with some of the groups that we see around the industry. But I guess do you do any kind of consulting, or I know you do stuff on LinkedIn, so you have the videos, you do like share very thoughtful posts on LinkedIn. I guess, do you do any kind of consulting work with other investors or owners, I guess?
Yeah, actually, I do. I do a lot of it. So I am a part of a very large investment group, which, I'm actually their RV lead in that area, where I kind of help out the new investors that are coming in and answer their questions, so that it's not so, oh, it's all butterflies and golden rings. It's a lot of work. And so if you're not prepared to build a team or have people who are very good at what they do and bring them on, like one of the things that, while we went and learned operations in our first park and our second park and then walked into our third park, one of the biggest things with our third park was we had a restaurant. Well, my husband has been in the hospitality business for 30 years on a spirits and alcohol side. So we've seen restaurants in action. We've just never actually run one. And that was about the point that we realized, we're going to need to have somebody on board that understands like restaurant operations. But restaurant operations actually coincide really well with RV park operations because they're so minute and detail oriented, and there's so many different things that have to go into it, that we actually went back into his old business and found a restaurant operator who specialized in franchises. And so we then hired him onto the team, and he now does our daily operations and works with all of our managers, which was probably one of the greatest things we did.
Do you ever get stressed out by having a restaurant in a park? I mean, I run into a lot of owners that are like, man, I really wish I didn't have a restaurant at the park.
Far, no, we haven't really run into, but we run them as two separate businesses. So the RV park, we have one manager for the RV park that runs the RV park day to day and the cabin rentals and all the activities that are going on there. And then we actually have managers that run just the restaurant. Okay. And so we kind of run them as two kind of separate businesses, which I think helps quite a bit. And we have different managers in each one.
So, Mychele, it looks like a lot of your parks are kind of on a 5-year plan where you purchase, you put in all your improvements, and then you're looking to sell them off in 5 years. Is that still the case, or is it just park dependent?
So it's going to be actually park dependent. So we have a 5-year fund. And with that, in 5 years, we have to evaluate what we're going to do with each of the parks. And so every park that performs well and does what we want it to do, we're actually going to probably roll it into Fund 2 and continue running it. And then the parks that aren't doing as well as we had hoped, we'll probably sell off.
So how do you market these? It's not really marketed as a group or a brand. Are they all kind of freestanding?
We've actually kept all of our parks freestanding. So we did that on purpose. One, we wanted to continue the legacy of the people who started the parks. So we didn't necessarily want to bring them all under one brand and wipe out everything that somebody previously has built. We really want them to stay true to the nature of the family that created them as much as we can. Like one of them, like our specific one in Virginia, that one actually was started by a family like 50 years ago. And the family still has a lot of ties to the community. So we really want to keep that going. And we really just love the fact that people have so many memories from it. I was actually on a podcast the other day with Ben Searle, and he had worked at the park like 20 years ago or something like that. So it was just kind of cool that like somebody else in the industry had actually worked at a park that I own now. And he thought it was kind of neat that, we were keeping the legacy going.
Yeah, definitely. I guess, what's the one amenity that if you buy a park and it doesn't have it, what's the one thing you have to add to a park that is just really popular with campers or works out well for your business, I guess? Is there anything like that?
Wow, let's see. All of our parks, well, they're really dependent on the location, but I definitely think that all of our parks have to have good shower houses and bathrooms. They have to make sure that they're clean. I want them, nicely done. So that's probably one of the first things that we look at upgrading in every park is the bathroom and shower houses. The second one is we always add a store if there isn't one with just basic amenities, things, RVs, supplies, things like that. Like our park in Alaska didn't have basic RV supplies, which We're in a town that is about 5 hours from any large town where you can buy these things. So we're bringing those things into there because it's one of the first things that people ask for when they come into the store is, hey, do you have a hose? Or, basic things that you wouldn't think that you would think that they would have, but a lot of time it breaks down or whatever. So there's a store and probably a really good laundry room. We've walked into some that have laundry rooms that are so dated that I wouldn't wash my clothes in them. So upgrading those are probably pretty important.
I'm always amazed with the laundry facilities at an RV park campground. Before I entered the industry, I guess I didn't really think about in a laundry facility, but a lot of campgrounds have them. So that's just kind of a neat aspect that I think if people are coming in from outside the industry, they're kind of like, why do we need a laundry room? So
It's actually great though because all of my parks have one and they're all used. So people are going on these trips or they're coming and staying for a long period of time. They may or may not have a laundry inside of their camper, but even if they do, they may want to wash like their comforters or their bedding or, just not wear and tear their laundry, their own facilities as much. So using our laundry rooms are pretty popular. So that's probably one of the big things that we do try to upgrade right away.
So and I think you're probably constantly in a need for management, good managers. What's your pipeline like for management? Where do you find these folks?
Management wise, we actually have been doing really great with finding some great managers. One of my best friends in the world who I've known for over 20 years actually runs one of my campgrounds. So her husband is an Eagle Scout. Her older son was an Eagle Scout. They grew up camping. They loved it. And they are actually from the Midwest, more of the eastern seaboard. So because of that, when I purchased one specific park, it actually positioned them about an hour from their in-laws and 2 hours from her family. And so when we purchased it, I went back to her and I said, we're buying this park. Have you ever considered running a campground? Would you like to try it? And she was on board, like literally went out and visited the park. A month later, moved out there. Like that's a good friend. So she's been out there working her butt off to get this place running smoothly. It's got over 300 pads, 94 acres, full activities. They do karaoke there every weekend. There's golf cart activities, themed weekends, cornhole tournaments, pickleball tournaments. Like it's a full-on activity park, and she is killing it out there. So she's doing an amazing job. So I've been pretty lucky. On top of that, when it comes to finding managers outside of our system, doing the normal things like on Deed, work campers, posting on Instagram, we are really targeting people who aren't necessarily wanting to be so transient, but more or less wanting to find a home base so that we're not constantly looking for new management. Our work campers are a little different. Like we don't mind having work campers who want to change places. I think one of the great aspects of what we're doing across the country is we have the opportunity to offer people the chance to move around without changing companies.
So does that mean you have a unified check-in system, reservation system, accounting, so that they can just plug and play when they arrive?
Yes. So we use ADP for all of our employees, which is an easy check-in system, and it moves around with them across the country. And then we actually use one online platform with Staylist. So that's what we've decided to go with in all of our parks, and it makes it really easy and streamlined so I can see everything from my desk. My operations manager can access it from wherever he's at, and basically we can all be on the same page.
So I guess, 5-10 years from now, where do you guys hope to be? Are you guys looking to continue adding more parks over the next few years and keep growing? What's that look like, I guess?
So ultimately, as a team, we do want to keep growing. We're hoping to get about 50 parks in the next 5 years. But with that, there's like a bigger Everest that we kind of want to build out with all of that. So 15 years ago, I lost my son. He had a heart condition. He was born with hypoplastic left heart syndrome and actually had a heart transplant when he was an infant. And with that, we had 6 beautiful years with him that we were very thankful for. We lost him due to heart complications. So with that, there are specific camps out there that do lots of different charity work and lots of different things. And we actually want to build heart camps out where we can have families come to our parks one time a year for a week free of charge, and actually give them the opportunity to make connections with other families that have different heart conditions, but still in the same realm, where they can build their own community and find other people who kind of understand what they're going through and let their kids just be kids for a week, where they get to just play and have a good time. I think one of the things that made me fall in love with campgrounds was actually being on a campground and seeing kids just be kids and seeing them run around and just have a good time, and just seeing the family connections, not where you're in a hotel and you've got 2 separate rooms and everybody's watching TV and they're on their, iPads or phones, but actually like sitting around a campfire and making new friends and playing cornhole across the way with your neighbors that you just met. Or, your kid coming up screaming and saying, oh my gosh, I met a new friend, but not actually knowing their name, just knowing they're that friend from the campground. And just having those memories of doing that as a kid, I think those are just some of the most beautiful things that we can give to families. And I want to be able to be a part of that and be able to give that to a community that I know doesn't get to have that very often.
Yeah, that's all. It's great. It's how's the progress going on the foundation? I guess is that going pretty well then, as you investment.
Yeah, so we actually are starting to figure out how to put all that in play. So I'm hoping in the next year or two we'll actually have our first one, and we're going to do it probably on our Virginia campground because it's such a family-oriented park. And then from there, we're going to start going to building out grants for families with heart conditions so that we can help them actually pay some of their medical bills. I know for us, a heart transplant after medical bills still costs the family about $250,000 on average when it comes to visits, housing, ensuring that your kid can get to and from the hospital and different things like that. We want to be able to build out grants for families that, when this happens to a family, they're usually a young couple just starting out and they weren't expecting all of this and they were excited to have a brand new baby to bring home. And, I know for me, when I brought home Brandon, I was 26 and one of us had to stop working. And so, because he couldn't go into daycare. And so knowing that you've got these large medical bills and then one of you has to stop working because your child can't go into daycare, it kind of just puts a whole new perspective on what's important in life. And you start to realize that, I've got to be able to provide, but I also need to be here for him. And it just puts you in this weird bind where it just puts a whole different strain on your family.
Yeah. And it's amazing what, obviously losing Brandon had to be, hard, but it's amazing what you guys are doing to try to push forward and remember him through the foundation. So, very noble. So hopefully things continue to go well for you and you continue to expand. I guess, how do people, if there's investors or potential investors or people just want to learn more about what you're doing, I guess, how do people learn more about your company or what you're doing through the foundation, I guess?
So in order to find out more about the investments, it would be rvresortinvestment.com is where you would find information on Bison Peak Fund. And if you want to find me, you can find me on Instagram at Mychele Bisson. It's MycheleBisson. Or you can find me on LinkedIn, like you said, under the same name, and on Facebook. And then for the foundation, we're still building all of that out and trying to figure out our ins and outs. But definitely, if you follow me on Instagram, I'll start making announcements when all that stuff starts coming into play.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, I think what the content you put on LinkedIn is very valuable to people too. Just some of your thoughts and obviously finding the news about what you guys are up to next. So, do you do any fishing, Mychele? Is that why you bought the fishing place? Do you?
My father used to make us go fishing when I was younger, and I used to hate it, which I think is hilarious because I also used to hate camping. And then, but I don't think I understood why he was doing it. Do you know what I like? You
Yeah.
know, when you're a kid and you
Yeah.
don't really get why your parents make you do certain things, and then one day you grow up and all of a sudden you find yourself sounding just like your parents, and you're like, oh my gosh, when did that happen? I feel like that's kind of where I've been the last probably 15, 20 years. As my kids started growing up, I started hearing my parents come out of my mouth, and I was like, where did that come from? But now when I look back on things, I realized that my dad did it because he wanted us to spend time together and he wanted us to have a connection. And now I want that with my own family, and I want other families to have that. So I love being able to share that with my kids. And I think it's hilarious because I hated it so much as a kid. But this summer, I plan on doing a lot of fishing. Next month, I'm heading up to Valdez, and a bunch of the women who are on my campground want to take me on a women's fishing trip. So we're going to take the boat out and go halibut fishing and
There you
salmon
go.
fishing. I'm going to learn how to king salmon fish, which I'm excited about.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
So that's an experience. So
Yes, so I'm super excited.
Yeah, it was great catching up, Mychele, and I hope maybe I can see you around at some conferences if you're going to any conferences in the fall. So
We plan on being at some of them, so hopefully we'll be able to get to more this year. We were just super busy with park, like trying to figure out how to get all of our systems in place this last year, so we didn't make a lot of them.
I thought owning a park was a retirement thing, right, Mike? So you're just
Yeah,
supposed
right.
to like lay around and relax
That's why I
and
don't
the
do
money
that.
come in. Well, thank you for coming on the show, Mychele, and thanks everyone for watching. And we will be back again next week.